surgery peeps. Wow, sorry. I almost spaced out on doing a video at all. And if this alluring look of the windswept hair, that's because of the fan being on. It is freaking hot here. Wow, it was in the 90s today. I felt actually blessed to be at work. And I am fried tonight. I went to my usual kick butt Zumba toning class, and then I went back in the water. I hadn't been in water aerobics for a long time, and I missed all the people there. I used to do 2 to 3 classes there in the pool when I wasn't employed, and worked out so much, and I missed them, so I went in the water, and it kicked my ass too. Let me tell you, I forgot just how much of a workout that water is. So if you have some mobility impairments, I'm telling you, the water is a wonderful way to go. There's no pressure on your joints from anything, and you get a lot of workout from that resistance. It's great. Anyway, I am Meggie, and this is the Back to Basics weight loss channel, and I always mess that up. I am your substitute Friday vlogger. And this week, actually, one of the things I wanted to talk about is goals. Okay, how do you decide what your goal is? I think for a lot of us, we went with our surgeon's goal. And I think most of our surgeons, it's cut and dried. You know, I was 5'7". He looked at the BMI chart and he set my goal. And you know, I actually, there were times during my particular journey where I wondered if that was wise, you know, because I sometimes felt like he was looking at that number and wasn't really looking at me, you know. And just to remind you what my particular journey is, if you're just tuning into me for the first time, I had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy on May 9th, 2011. I started my journey at 280 pounds, and I reached his goal weight of 162 pounds on April 24th of 2012. I've now been in maintenance for over a year, and can proudly say that as of today, I am 1 pound above that surgeon-determined goal weight. But I've been doing a lot of thinking about goals lately. How we decide where we want to be, you know, whether our body dysmorphia gets in our own way when it comes to being real about what's really happening. I know that when I was on my way down, there were many people when I first was in the 160s, in the low 160s, the high 160s, excuse me, really felt, they kept telling me, you look fine here, don't lose any more weight. But I was so driven and so focused on that number that my doctor had determined that I didn't want to hear any of it. And, you know, we've talked before, both on my channel and elsewhere, about dysmorphia and how we can't always be the ones who can tell what's really going on, because what we see in the mirror is so often distorted by our own insecurities, our fears, how we feel about ourselves on a deep, deep level. So how do we determine a goal? I would love to hear from some of you, because I know I had a really big kind of aha, come to Jesus moment with myself last week, because one of my goals in the Transformation Academy with Back to Basics has been to get to my original goal weight again, having been diverted a little bit with some regain and finally getting things in control. I had been able to get down to around 167, 166, and my body seemed to want to stay there. And what I had to do in recent weeks was decide, well, if your body wants to stay there, Meggie, maybe there's a reason for that, and maybe this is the weight you're meant to be. And what I did was I looked at myself. I looked at how I look in my clothes. I thought very realistically about how I feel in my body. And what I had decided was I feel strong, I feel vibrant, I feel alive, and I look good. You know, I'm wearing size 8, size 10, depending. Honestly, when I first started, my own personal goal for myself was to be size 14. That seemed like a dream size to me because I know in the past when I'd gotten to a pretty decent weight where I felt good about myself, I was in a 16. And once I got up into the 24, 26 range, 16 seemed like a faraway dream, and 14 seemed like a golden goal. Well, now I'm in 8s and 10s. And was I going to determine my own feeling about myself based on trying to get to that number again, that number 162 that my doctor set for me? Even my doctor at one point, now that I'm remembering it, saw me come into the office and said, "You're good to go," and then upon looking, later in the appointment, looking at the numbers, I think he felt like I still needed to lose 6 pounds, but that was because of that number again, that number that he set based on that chart. Who makes those charts? Who decides that stuff? I think that what we have to do is really try and do a survey of some kind, and with help, I think, help from others around us, others in the weight loss surgery community, figure out some sort of reality that's based on more than just this arbitrary number, and I think Rosemary talks a lot about the fact that you've got to love yourself all the way in this process. Sorry about that. My fingers getting a little bit numb holding. We have to readjust. We have to love ourselves every step of the way, and also I think we do have to kind of reestablish our goals, reconfirm our goals, and look more realistically at them. And really what I decided a couple weeks ago was that I was going to accept that 167 was going to be my goal weight. And that's 5 pounds higher than what my doctor had said. So it was a wonderful thing for me. It really was. It was like I had to let go of the goal I set, first of all, for the Transformation Academy. And I had to let go of a lot of expectations of myself and a lot of things I would feel bad about when it had been so difficult to carve those last few pounds off again. I mean, one of the criteria I used for looking at that and realizing that maybe I could be happy at 167 was that I knew I was doing everything I could. I mean, I haven't been eating processed sugar. I'm not eating bread. I'm not eating pasta. I'm staying between basically 850 and 1200 calories a day. I'm working out 2 hours a day. I'm getting 3 liters of water a day. I mean, I'm living the life the way I want to, the way I feel good doing it. And if my body's going to stay at 167, so be it. I feel strong, as I said, I feel vibrant, and I look good in my clothes. So it was really a big thing for me. Now, I think the funny thing is, of course, is that since I made that decision of accepting myself as I was, I lost some more weight. And I mean, that's okay. If I gain a few more pounds back, that's okay too. It is what it is. Who can predict what that scale is going to say, right? I mean, really, who can predict? You can feel so good and feel like you did everything right, and it goes up. Or you can be bad and eat a few extra carbs, and it goes down. Who knows? We can never really say. If we could write that book and sell it and make $1 gazillion, right? So even though I have lost a few more pounds, I am... Sorry, get the battery low symbol. I am going to still say that I accept myself, that 167 may be my goal weight, and that I can be happy there, and that's a big thing. I mean, I know 5 pounds doesn't sound like much, but it was a really big thing when I was so driven to get back to that number that my doctor set for me. And that's the kind of dialogue we have with ourselves, and that's the kind of dialogue I think is important for us to engage in, to make sure that we are not driving ourselves to get to some unattainable goal that may not be based in reality, may not be based on who we are and how we look and and what our particular metabolism is, or what our particular being is, you know. And some of us look better at a higher weight, and some of us look better at a lower weight, and we're all so very different, and we all have so many different needs and idiosyncrasies and facts about us that are not just defined by a number on a chart. And so goals is what I'm thinking about this week, and I would love to hear the things that you guys are thinking about, because I'd like to know how you went about choosing your goal weight, or your goal range, how you came to that point, what are the factors that you considered, because I find it very interesting, and it's something obviously I'm thinking about now as I've gotten closer and closer to that number that I was so focused on. And for me, it was very liberating to let go of it and accept what is, and not just always be thinking about what I wish was. It kind of reminds me of the fact that after I split up with my son's father and was on my own, I got to the point where I told myself I'd be fine if I was alone for the rest of my life. And in doing that, I opened the door for the love of my life to walk in. So it kind of reminds me of that, by releasing this total focus and drive towards that number, I may have opened the door to drop a few more pounds. Who knows? Who knows how it all works? Anyway, if this seemed disjointed and confused, I am pretty fried this week, people. I'm also thinking about Vegas, which is coming up here shortly. Sadly, my darling husband, who had hoped to meet so many of you, cannot, after all, go with me. But I will be there representing, and I can't wait to hug as many of you as possible. So, anyway, I will see you next week, and mwah! Bye-bye.